Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. Man, it feels good to be back. These 2 weeks breaks are sometimes gets a little long. It gets a little long. I think our listeners want to hear more of our sexy voices.
Chomping at the bit.
They better want to hear more of our sexy voices.
Oh, I guarantee you, they want to hear more.
Our Xavier
Trust me.
Leggett voices.
Come on, man. Use sexy voice.
I can't even. I'm not even going to attempt. I won't even attempt to do that.
It's kind of a
for everyone.
sexy voice though, like especially the way Fab you
For
do it.
who?
Like you look into the camera. Like,
I know he does look. He does look
Yeah.
a little.
You look in
He
the
does a
camera,
little.
do my Xavier
Yeah,
Leggett
he
voice. Is
does
that what you want? Is that what you want? Come on, Roger. Is that what you want? Gotta give the people what they want, man.
I might have
Oh
just got
boy.
that screenshot.
Yeah, that's
Great.
amazing. That
Wonderful.
is amazing.
Can't wait for that.
Thumbnail. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So we are back once again. This week we're going to be diving into our do not draft list for the upcoming 2025 fantasy football season. We have some great names that may have been good in the past, but may not be that good anymore, or just too rich for the blood at their ADPs. But before we start, as always, please like, follow, subscribe on all the social media platforms and everywhere you get your podcast. A nice subscription or a like goes a very, very long way, and we definitely appreciate it. So we thank you in advance for that. And without further ado, we're just going to dive right into this. So basically, we'll go through two QBs, two running backs, and two wide receivers, and some tight ends sprinkled in at the end on our do not draft boards for the upcoming season. So let's kick it right off with our boy Raj. Raj has the QBs today. So who do you got? Who do you not drafting in 2025?
Yes, I do have the QBs. It's a murderer's row of do not drafts. I'm gonna start with the Colts QB room.
Wow.
I feel this goes without saying. It sounds like Daniel Jones has the upper hand so far, just finishing minicamp and then probably entering the training camp too because of Anthony Richardson's shoulder injury. I think, and I talked about it last episode where I quite like Josh Downs this year, but I just feel like we saw what we saw from Daniel Jones over the course of his past 5-6 years, right? Not really a reliable starter, can sprinkle in some good starts here and there. And two, it is in the Colts' best interest to still ensure that Anthony Richardson somewhat gets a chance to be the guy. So I have some concerns on whether or not they're going to still try to force feed him to be the starter, or at least give him an opportunity, because at some point Daniel Jones will falter. And for me, even that QB3, QB4 in 2 QB league, it's just not a risk I'm willing to take. It feels like an absolute mess. That QB room, it's going to be back and forth and back and forth. So for me, that's an automatic do not draft.
I think it's one of those things where you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because I think that I agree with you that Daniel Jones has the inside track and likely starter week 1, but you invested the 4th overall pick on Anthony Richardson. So you're going to want to know what you have from Anthony Richardson. This is also what, the year 3, so they've got to they got to pick up an option as well coming up for his 5th year option.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're just going to want to know what they have in him. So yes, you might get some good starts out of Daniel Jones at the beginning of the year, but they're definitely going to switch back to Anthony Richardson at some point. And then the problem there is shoulder injuries tend to linger, right? Throughout the year. I'm thinking about Joe Burrow
Yeah.
way back when he had that shoulder injury. It tends to linger. So even when they go back to Anthony Richardson, I'm not expecting huge amount of points from him either. So yeah, I definitely agree that it's a QB room to definitely avoid.
And I'll just add one more thing. And I think what makes this murky for a lot of teams in this type of situation is that the Colts might actually be good this year. They spent a lot of dollars on their secondary. They drafted Tyler Warren. They weren't that far off from being a playoff team over the past 2 years, actually. So when you get to a point where you're a playoff team, a potential playoff team, if they were tanking or like it looks like their season's going to be in the dumps, for sure they're going to put in Anthony Richardson. But as they creep in closer and they stay at 500 and Daniel Jones plays just good enough to keep them at 500, they're likely not going to revert back to Anthony Richardson. So that makes it a tough situation too for them in terms of that evaluation.
But I hope that is the case, though, for Anthony Richardson, because he needs to sit. He needs to sit. He needs to pay attention. Like, he hasn't really had like the last 2 years. How many reps of NFL has he actually had? How many games has he played? Not many. And he's probably played a little bit more NFL games than he has that one full college season. Like,
Yeah.
just think about it right now. Like, as you guys were talking, it's like, you know what? Like, the guy hasn't had a chance to learn off of anybody.
Hmm.
And say what you want about Daniel Jones. Like, he's won a playoff game. He's been through a bunch of offensive and
my
offensive
God.
coordinators. He has more experience than Anthony Richardson has ever had right now. So you can learn quite a bit. Who's their third quarterback
I
in
was
there?
gonna spit out my water if I drank. That's why I
Yeah, it
He
was. There
stopped.
can,
was.
man. He
I
can,
saw
like
that.
it
That
or
was a
not,
close
guys.
call. The mic
Like
would have been ruined.
like it or not, he can learn a little bit from Daniel Jones. At least how to be a
So,
pro, how to pay attention to plays
listeners,
and all that.
Fabio still has a lot of stock on Daniel Jones Island. I think he has a few condos
No,
and
I
a villa there as
If
well.
I have to play devil's advocate to that, I think he needs the reps. If anything, he needs the
Yeah.
reps to in order to get better and whatever. Look, they benched him last year, right? Then they had Joe Flacco there. We know Joe Flacco, as he came out and said this year, "I'm not a mentor. I get ready to play football every Sunday," which I loved when he said that. But he did play behind Joe Flacco for a few weeks until they inserted him back in the lineup as Flacco wasn't doing the job. And I'm not saying, hey, you have to learn behind Joe Flacco, but I think sitting does more hurt than it does good because he needs those NFL reps in order to succeed.
fair point. Anyway, it's a quarterback room that I think everybody's avoiding anyways, right?
By default.
By default.
100%.
Who else you got, Raj?
Pains me to do this. One of my favorite QBs to watch ever, but just the circus of it. Aaron Rodgers. I want no part of the Aaron Rodgers business this year, none whatsoever. He might be good. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a similar type top 15 QB type season next year and is good enough to be a solid QB2. But if we recall, the ride wasn't great last year with the Jets, right? He got better at the end, maybe closer to the maybe because the season looked like it was in the dumps anyways. But
He also had Devontae Adams towards the end.
Devontae Adams as well. I just don't. I think the ride will be very bumpy. And look, 41, 42-year-old QB, coming off 2 years out of an Achilles, likely his last season.
Oh, it is.
I don't know about that, but I'm going to say
he said as much. He came out and he said it yesterday.
He didn't say it's my
He
last
said it's
season.
likely.
It's likely my
It's
last
likely.
season.
Oh my
so
God, Aaron.
keeping the door open there.
Figure it out, Aaron.
And yeah, I'm just I just I don't want any part of that.
I think it's always going to be rocky. The Steelers, the last, I don't know, almost a decade now, the offense hasn't been what it used to be when Ben and Bell were there and Brown was there when they kind of figured it out. And then that's when the defense wasn't playing great. But last year, too, the defense kind of let them down. But in the same scenario, the offense was off the field very, very quick a lot of the times as well. So I think it's going to be easier. And I think because he has that defense, he's not going to have to do as much. And I'm I'd I'd rather Aaron Rodgers there on, 3rd and 7 rather than even Russell Wilson or a Kenny Pickett or a Mitch Trubisky or you know what I mean? Like in the red zone, he's going to be a lot better than all of these guys as well. So fantasy football wise, I kind of tend to agree with you. Am I going to be shocked at a top 15 finish? No. But most likely out of the top 20 in my opinion. I definitely agree with you, I think, there, because it's just he's not going to have to do as much as the others potentially did. And I think he stays on the field a little longer with the offense than the past 4 or 5 years with the QBs that they've had.
I don't know if he stays on the field longer. I feel like Pittsburgh need more weapons for him. Like we just mentioned it
Yes.
before, like how he only turned it on towards the second half of the season last year. And fine, maybe he got back into his rhythm and all that stuff with the Jets because he was out for the entire season previously. But he needed weapons. Like he had Garrett Wilson, then he had his boy Devontae Adams and Adam Lazard and all guys that he's super familiar with. And he's throwing to DK Metcalf and some guys that
Robert
Robert
Woods,
Woods.
brother.
Bobby Trees.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. When I see that he's the offensive weapon, like I like Robert Woods, but he's past his prime. I think
He's
it's
a
fair to
blocker.
say.
He was there. He was brought in to block.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I don't think
DK
they're done though.
Metcalf
I don't
and
think they're
who
done.
else over there
What
in
did
that
they? There
offense?
was a saying they had about Robert Woods. Robert Woods is the Hall of Famer of Allen Robinsons. Like of all those types of receivers, Robert Woods is like the best of them.
He was very good in his
He was
prime,
very
like
good.
very
With
serviceable,
the
very
Texans
serviceable
and with the Rams.
receiver
And
with the
with the Rams,
Rams.
he was
That's where
excellent.
he
He
made.
was
Yeah,
excellent
that's where
with the
he.
Rams.
Yeah, he was very very good with the Rams, but yeah, he brings blocking. Like
Like
Calvin Austin has to take another step, but everyone seems to be saying that Roman Wilson looks good. So is he going to be that guy that steps in and potentially becomes that WR2 on the
Oh,
team?
he
Like
has to earn Aaron Rodgers' trust, right? We all know how important
100%,
that is.
100%.
rookies
We
is
all know
tough with
about that.
rookies.
I think honestly, I think Fryermuth out of the bunch has a really good season.
I agree because he targeted who was it? Was it Mason? Who's the tight end for
Conklin.
Conklin? Yeah, he targeted Conklin a lot last year.
Rodgers throws to the middle of the field.
Yeah.
A lot
So
last year, and Conklin isn't exactly a name brand when it comes to tight ends, right? So yeah,
and
I agree. I
he's
think Fryermuth's going to
like
have a
both
better
tight
season
ends.
than people think.
I think Washington too. Like the red zone, those guys are just going to catch balls in the red zone. I think they're going to see a lot of red zone
I
targets.
just want to add that Rodgers had, I see it here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games where he was below 13 fantasy points. Again, QB2, like you could
I
live
think the
with it, but
Jets.
I think
I
the
think the
ride will
Jet
be
situation
bumpy.
last year was just like they fired their coach, they fired a GM, they fired like they it just didn't jive, right? He's going
Yeah.
into a more structured organization too. Um, I don't know. I think he's in a better situation this year than he was last year. Maybe he had more talent last year, but I don't think it all went on talent. I think that team was just dysfunctional
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah. If I could add just 2 more quick honorable mentions, maybe a shocker, Sam Darnold. I am very
That's
weary
not a
of Sam
shocker.
Darnold, considering, yes, the Seahawks drafted Gray Zabel in the first round to shore up their offensive line. Yes, they hired, I believe, Clint Kubiak as new OC, but I'm a bit weary of Sam Darnold repeating what he did last year in a non Kevin O'Connell offense. I kind of have to see it to believe it again. And for
So from
me,
QB1 last year, you're going QB what 3 all the way down to 3 this year, or
for
are you
him,
safe as a QB2?
I would not feel safe as my QB.
I feel like I'd rather take a Cam Ward personally. I'd rather take a gamble on Cam Ward than Sam Darnold. I just think that I need to see him have a really big season in a non Kevin O'Connell offense, because we know how QB friendly that offense
Mm-hmm.
is for QBs to really believe it. And again, they shored up the offense line a little bit, but we know how bad he is under pressure. We know how bad he is up the middle, and we saw it in the last 2 games, Detroit and
The
Los
Rams.
Angeles.
So I think we know what the ceiling is for Sam Darnold because we saw it last year. And I don't think that's ever going to be repeated again in a different offense. It's not under the control of Kevin O'Connell. So when I see something, when he's going to a different environment, a different offense, he's, it's hard for me to think he'll repeat what he did last year. It's even hard for me to trust him as a QB2 because I do think there's going to be more of what we've seen towards the end of the season where, okay, the real Sam Darnold, is this him right now? That's him coming around. And even the Seahawks, the contract they gave him is basically 1 year. I know he signed a 3-year deal,
Yes,
but all the guaranteed money is in the first year.
and they drafted Milrow.
And they drafted Milrow. So, like, I think the Seahawks kind of know as well. So, kind of, you follow the money, right? Kind of tells you everything you need to know, I feel like, a little bit. So, I'm Sam Darnold to me would be like if I don't want him as my QB2, he would be a QB3 for me, and he's only there for bye weeks. And even then, I'm not feeling great about him. But you want a guy who can chase upside versus a guy who you know is going to have a floor of like whatever it is, 11 points, maybe 12 points, but not a very high ceiling.
And just very quick, I just want to get it out there. The last honorable mention, and it pains me to say this because I love this guy, but Geno Smith. It was a painful ride last year with him. Great real life QB, fantasy QB. Like he needs talent around him. And if you look at his last 2 years since his 8th QB finish, He's finished 15th and 12th. 12th, not bad last year considering the lack of talent, but it was mostly because he had 4,300 passing yards, 21 TDs, 59 INTs. So again, very bumpy ride with Geno. Great real life QB, but fantasy, I'd rather avoid him this year.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I disagree.
I don't know. Yeah, I was never a huge Geno Smith fan to begin with, so like I kind of understand where you're coming from. But although I would not mind him as a QB2 in in the league, like I'd be okay with him being
Tough
a
ride, man. The
QB2.
red zone,
Yeah, for sure,
like
for sure.
not a great
Brock
Hopefully,
watch,
Bowers,
man.
man. We're forgetting
hopefully,
about
look,
Brock Bowers
Chip
here.
Kelly in there now.
Yeah.
Maybe it
Yeah, I don't know, but Chip Kelly, are we sure he's a good offensive coordinator in the NFL? Like
we have to see it. We'll
Eagles
see.
and Niners, it was not
He's
great,
changed the
man.
way he's played ever since he was in college. I remember at the beginning when he was in the NFL, he wanted to have as many plays as possible, play very quickly,
Good
play
point.
very fast.
Good
He
point.
stopped doing that in college. And I
Good
guess
point.
that's why it sort of translates better to the NFL. We'll see. I agree with you. That's the only trepidation I have too, is really more Chip Kelly. But Geno Smith in that offense, like, I don't know, man. Like Jacoby Myers, Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, like
Besh. Jack
Besh.
Besh. Jack Besh.
Like Besh. I don't know. I'm a little more optimistic than you are, Roger, with Geno Smith. But okay, that's fine. I'll be drafting him when you're not. Perfect. Thank you.
That'll do it for our QB do not draft list for the 2025 season. Fab, you have some running backs that you are not going to be drafting this year. Tell us
I
about it.
do. I do. I do. So without further ado, we're going to start off with Mr. Aaron Jones Sr. He actually had his most
Mm.
productive year in Minnesota last year. He rushed for a career high 1,138 yards, 51 receptions,
That was
408
career
yards.
high? Holy
I was
smokes.
surprised too when I was going through the numbers. 7 total touchdowns, and he signed a nice 2-year extension for $20 million with 13 guaranteed. But he had his most carries ever in his life at 255. His previous high was 236 in 2019. So quite a while ago, right? He played a full 17 games for sure, but he was injured for some of those games, even though he was still playing and starting. And it was only the second time ever he's played a full season. Finished as RB15 last year and PPR, which was above guys like Brees Hall and Joe Mixon. But on a points per game basis, he was RB20. This is PPR I'm talking about now. And then, like, you add the fact that Minnesota added Jordan Mason in the offseason to alleviate the workload off of Jones,
Yeah, that's a big one.
and who's also on the wrong side of 30, which makes sense. So this year, I don't know. Like, Mason is younger, he's heavier, he's bigger, he's much more of a bruiser than Jones is. So I think Mason will potentially take away a lot of goal line duties, be there on first down, second downs, really eat into Jones's ceiling. And KOC also said that he called Mason the 1B. So this is really like a real combo, I feel like. Like they're going to be using them both quite equally. Um, I think, listen, he's a very good player. We all know that. I think he's going to have a serviceable season, but more towards like low end RB2, mid tier, even RB3. Like right now, he's going as his current ADP is RB22. And when you're drafting an RB that low, like a low end RB2, I'd rather chase guys that have a little more upside. I would go towards like a
Yes.
rookie in that case, like an Omarion Hampton, AJ Harvey, Henderson. Like those are the guys I'd be targeting instead of Aaron Jones at that spot.
Interesting.
I agree with that. And I feel like I've been thinking that since the Jordan Mason trade.
Like I'm
I
happy he got he showed up last year. I had him on my fantasy team, and he was doing a lot better than I expected him to be doing. By all accounts, he had a very good season, but there was a lot of up and downs with him. Like it starts off
yes.
really good, and then you get those dud games where he's dressed, but he's not really playing. And you bring in Jordan
Soft
Mason, and Jordan
tissue.
Mason, you saw what he did with San Francisco. Like he's a good running back, and he I think he averaged like 5 yards a carry all throughout his career. Jordan Mason, very small sample size, but still, right? So
I think it's a good real life move for them to preserve him.
100%, 100%.
But fantasy wise, I really agree with
Yeah, I
you.
really torpedoed his value because he was probably going to have some RB2 value, I think, like realistically, but not anymore.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
You guys ready for my next one?
Do it.
Okay, so this one kind of hurts me a little bit. Kenneth Walker III. He's a fantastic player, man. I love him. Honestly, like that 3 touchdown game versus Detroit. I was like, when this guy plays, he's like a top 5 running back, but he doesn't stay on the field. And the best ability is availability, guys, especially when it comes to running backs. So, and also on top of that, I just read some report he's been limited in OTAs with an ankle injury, and everyone is saying that he should be fine. Like, if you're already assuming that he's going to be fine in time for training camp, like, I don't know, like a lot of trepidations, a lot of concerns. Charbonnet started less games than Kenneth Walker and was more efficient, like 4.3 yards per carry versus 3.7.
He's a guy I like a lot.
I love him. He's a bruiser.
Yeah.
He's more direct.
Much more direct. Also much more effective in receiving yards too.
Yes.
42 for 340 versus 46 for 299. Not by much, but still, like, you'd be surprised that someone of his size is still more as effective or more effective as a wide receiver. Plus, like, it kind of goes back to the conversation we had earlier, right? Like, which Darnold are we getting? Because if we're getting a Darnold where the defense knows he can't throw or he's going to have trouble and they just start stacking the box, and what happens to KW3's value, right? So it's a lot of uncertainty. Really makes me out on Kenneth Walker the third. His current ADP right now is RB15, and he's been climbing, which I find weird. But I'd rather safer guys as an RB2, like, the James Connors of the world, the Montgomerys, Chuba Hubbard, even James Cook if he's there. I definitely take Cook over Kenneth Walker the third, because you want guys that are going to stay on the field. As I say that, maybe Connor's not the best comparison. He's been pretty healthy lately, actually, James Conner.
He only missed 1 game last year.
Yeah, he's been pretty healthy lately.
You know what? I don't want to draft Kenneth Walker the third, but the guys after him, though, like Mixon, Connor, like you just said it, Aaron Jones Sr., DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, like, this is like first team All Pro injury running back. Like, you picked both of them. You pick both of them. Like, both of your picks are like the worst injury ratings in Madden. You could
100%.
imagine.
But the thing with, and I guess it's the same thing with Aaron Jones, right? If you're drafting Kenneth Walker, you have to draft Charbonnet. And, like,
1,000%.
Are you super excited to have the Seattle's running back room on your team? I'm not.
So I feel like the move actually, like that, I'm looking at Fantasy Pros now, and that tier 4 is the guys I just said, like Mixon, Connor, Montgomery, Jones Sr., Swift, Tony Pollard. I think I'd rather punt on that tier 4. And if you look at tier 5, it's some of the rookies like Trevion Henderson, Judkins. I still like Jalen Walker. I'm still a big fan of his. Even like Etienne becomes like a not bad bargain.
Jalen
Sorry?
Jalen Warren?
What did I say? Jalen Walker.
Jalen Walker, who doesn't exist.
Jalen Walker is he just got drafted.
By who?
Jalen Walker, the edge.
Yeah, I'm talking about running backs though.
Okay, but he still exists. Anyways, the point being is tier 5. I like some of those guys like who like are in the rookie class than like the tier 4 that I've just mentioned. So I think to that point, like, yeah, a lot of injury prone running backs.
And who's in tier 5? Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks because Kenneth Walker is a very good running back. We've seen what he can do. It's just, the injuries. It's a very unforgiving sport. I have some honorable mentions as well. I'll go quickly on these. I think Joe Mixon, Rod, you hit on it. I think the party's over with Joe Mixon. We saw the excitement that he can do in the beginning of the season last year, but then it really tailed off. And now they add Nick Chubb. I know that doesn't really move the needle, but whenever they add a running back of the expected caliber that is Nick Chubb, because Nick Chubb, I'm sure he's going to tell everyone he can still do it. I'm sure he can. It's just less carries, less opportunities, and all that stuff.
Dude, I've had Mixon so many times. Like, it is, you have to put a gun to my head to draft him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I feel like he's going to go really late.
Yeah, I agree. I think he will go very late. I think a lot of the guys we're mentioning, to be honest with you, they're all in tier 4, because I think Joe Mixon's there too. Yeah, he is. They're all going to go super late. I think a lot of people are going to be taking the rookies before they take these vets, just because they want to chase the upside for their RB2, which I don't disagree with. This is going to be a very controversial one, but what type of podcast would it be if I didn't have a hot
I have
take?
a feeling I know who it is.
You say yours first, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
Devon Chen.
No, that's not controversial. We're on the same page about that.
I don't
Well,
want to draft.
that would be highly controversial.
I'm not a
So
big fan of drafting.
he's not on my do not draft list. I just have some. He's just been flying up the boards a lot, and second year running back makes me a little bit nervous to take him super, super high is Bucky Irving. Just because
Oof, very
Max
unpopular
boy.
opinion.
Max ready to fight.
Very unpopular opinion.
it's a little like he's at 8, and I'm okay with that there. But like I would feel better with a Josh Jacobs before Bucky Irving type deal, like. But after that though, yeah, like I mean, Bucky Irving deserves to be in the top 10. I'm not gonna say that, but he's been flying up lately. It's like, yeah,
Like,
second year
I'm
running
taking
back.
Bucky Irving before Genty.
Okay.
Only the top 3 is the only players I'd draft before him.
Dude,
Genty, Achan, McCaffrey, Henry. Those are the other. Yeah, like I'd jump all those guys.
his metrics were nuts. Like I'm looking at it on Fantasy Pros.
He was insane.
He
Top
was
15 in
fantastic.
explosive run, seventh in explosive run rate, third in missed tackles forced per attempt, fourth in yards after contact per attempt. Like those are repeatable numbers,
Rookie.
man.
That was rookie numbers.
yeah.
And didn't even start the year.
Who are you worried about? Rashad White?
No, I'm just worried
him.
about a little bit of a drop off from a second year player. That's all. Just a bit of a drop off for me to say, like, you know what, he's at 8 or at 7. It might be a little bit too much for me, but that's it. Like, I'm not knocking the guy down to an RB2. I want to be clear on that, right? Just more of there are certain guys that are around him that for me have a safer floor just because they've done it before. And really, that's it. Like, I'm not talking about.
You said Jacobs. I agree.
I
Who
said
else?
Jacobs, yeah. And honestly, I think that's it. Now that I'm looking at the list, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think that's it.
I think
like, that's it.
Because
Christian McCaffrey,
sure?
like, give me Christian McCaffrey over Bucky Irving. No, I would go Bucky just because Christian McCaffrey.
You just pegged him up to 7 now. Now he's back.
Yeah,
he's at 7.
Yeah. I got to redo my ranking.
So it was a controversial point even to you.
Just a slide down. It's tough sledding out there in the RB room, guys. Tough sledding because I can't have the same argument for Chase Brown. I can't be like, oh, Chase Brown, yeah, we'll take him over Bucky Irving, but they're both kind of
Chase Brown. Using your favorite word today, trepidation. I have way more trepidation about Chase Brown.
I have
because he's more to me. He's more of a speedster. He is slighter of a frame, and I feel like he's better paired with a bruising running back. Whereas I actually think Bucky Irving he showed he can handle the load, and he's surprisingly strong considering he's only like 5'10", 195.
Yeah, I was surprised at how good Chase Brown did when Zach Moss went down. I thought that he was going to be swallowed up, but he did very well, and it's like, can he do that for a second year in a row? Yeah, so I guess like I'm targeting a top 5 running back, or else some fantasy's going to suck next year.
Thank you, Fab. That was the running backs. I will now take on the wide receivers that I am avoiding next season. So I base this upon their current ADPs. So my first wide receiver on the list is going to be Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, Miami Dolphins. So his current ADP is 15 among wide receivers, and in 2024, he actually dropped to wide receiver 21. I know he battled some injuries and he had the wrist injury, but he's also going to be 31 this upcoming season. So north of 30. His explosiveness took a bit of a hit last year, I found. And erratic QB health with Tua in the backfield makes him one to definitely avoid. Like he has a really high cost for the lack of production that he produced last year. So like I don't know, I feel like I would look elsewhere, definitely where he's being drafted. And there's 4 players after him that I would definitely take before Tyreek. And they are Rashee Rice, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, and Terry McLaurin.
Are we sure about Rashee Rice?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We are?
Yeah, and he's 100%. He's not getting suspended next year. So
no, from an injury standpoint, not about suspension, but from an injury standpoint.
Oh, actually, he just got a full go from Andy Reid actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's good to go. I'm definitely taking.
I
And I know
agree with the
Devontae
other
Adams
three.
with
Rasheed
Puka
Rice is
is
the only
kind of
one where I
like
would be like, I need to know more. As of right now, as of June 25th, been more of a toss up for me. Devontae, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, especially Terry if he gets his contract figured out. I'm down 100%.
I'd push
Tyreek
back
is.
on Mike Evans personally.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
You don't think he has another season in him? We keep on doubting him. He is the Derrick
Um,
Henry of wide receivers.
yeah, but there's still more high
pretty
upside
good
with Tyreek.
comparison.
Actually, yeah.
It's a good comparison. I feel like there's still more a high upside with Tyreek. I feel like Mike Evans is squarely in the 1,000 yards. Like I'm barely going to get through to 1,000 yards. Yes, he'll get to like his 8
He
to
gets
10 touchdowns.
double digits touchdowns. He'll help him out a lot,
It definitely helps him out a
and the
lot.
catches, a lot of receptions.
I still think that if Tyreek like I don't disagree with you, Nak, but if Tyreek does somehow have a bounce back season to Tyreek means 120 catches. It means
Yeah,
1,500
but that's
yards.
all.
It means 13 touchdowns.
That's Tua staying healthy for 17 games,
Yes.
which we know
Yes.
that, like, in all likelihood does not happen, right? Like, that's what I'm basing it on, right?
Yeah.
That you lose Tua for 4 or 5 games. Those games, go look at games where Tyreek doesn't have Tua, and it's not pretty.
Yeah. An underrated factor for Tyreek is that, and I know this is stupid to say, but like the 15 kids, like he needs another contract or else he's gonna be broke. He's gonna be broke like in 10 years. No, I'm not, and I'm not
Yeah, but what
joking.
kind of
Like
contract is he getting at 31 years old? Like, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
he's gonna get what Devontae Adams got. Maybe he takes a pay cut, but at least he gets maybe some years added, right? Like I think the
Maybe.
goal for him is he still needs to stay in that WR2 range where he could command
He's got to
another.
stay relevant, basically.
He
Yes.
like command like even a Stephon Diggs type contract. So
Right.
yeah.
Next guy on my list, he just also signed a big contract this offseason. It's going to be T. Higgins, current ADP of
Okay.
14. So that makes 2 wide receivers on the same team in the top 14, which I do not like. So he's currently being drafted as a borderline WR1, so just under that tier of WR1. And obviously Chase is the clear-cut WR1 on the team. And history has shown that he's capped around 110 targets and around like 900 yards. So it limits a bit of his ceiling, excuse me. And he's definitely going to have WR1 type number games. But I feel like it's not enough to warrant his draft position, right? Like, and there's also the injury concern. He's only played 12 games in each of the past 2 seasons. He's all like we said it before with running backs. Like your best ability is your availability, right? And he just doesn't show that. So, man, 14 drafting him ADP 14 for a guy who plays 12 games a year, doesn't have the WR1 targets, and he's hovering around that 9 to 1,000 yard season. I don't know, way, 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 way too rich for my blood.
Yeah, I don't disagree with this at all. T. Higgins is another guy that I'm fading a little bit too. Like we mentioned those 4 guys earlier within the episode. I would happily take any one of those 4 over T. Higgins. He's a very nice wide receiver too. Like he's like firmly entrenched within wide receiver 2 territory
Oh
for
yeah,
me. Like mid-tier wide receiver 2. Because it is a high flying offense. And now that they don't have any single linebacker or defensive edge on that team that can rush the quarterback, the defense will be on there for quite a while. You know what I mean? So like they're going to be playing behind a lot, I feel. So you always kind of want that as far as a recipe for success is concerned. If he stays healthy, he can turn into wide receiver 1 numbers though. That's the thing.
but the way my head works is, can a Marvin Harrison Jr. not do what a T Higgins does? Can potentially DK Metcalf not do what a T Higgins will do in terms of production? A Cortland Sutton maybe, like a Zay
Jerry
Flowers, like
Judy.
Jerry Judy, yeah, like he did it last year, right? So like you're talking about
He didn't have
guys
good
that
QB play
you're
last
going
year.
down like
Yeah, but you
Chris
want
Godwin
consistency
right
there.
now,
Like
ADP 27. I know he's coming off that gruesome injury, but like players like that, I'm saying like the value just isn't there for taking a WR2 on someone's team that has Jamar Chase in it, I'll wait a round or two and take Harrison. I'll wait a round or two and take Metcalf instead and shore up somewhere else, like shore up my running back position or draft another QB. Right? This is a 2 QB league after all. For me, it's like when you see that and it's like it's coming up to the second round, third round, and you're taking a T Higgins. Like for me, it's just way, 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 way too rich.
Well, he was my bust last week when we discussed this, and I remember, if you guys remember, I mentioned I don't think he had a better finish than 17th, than like either
Yeah.
WR11 or I think it was WR17 because of the fact that he's just always injured. Right? So you get to a point where like even a guy like Jacoby Myers or Juwan Jennings, if you assume that T Higgins will get injured, Juwan Jennings and Jacoby Myers are better picks than T Higgins, which conceptually is crazy, but
yeah, but the
can't stay
value
healthy.
the value just is not there at 14 for me. It's just nowhere in the vicinity where you can get a guy who's, like I said, ADP 24 and below sometimes.
Yeah.
10 wide receivers later and you're getting the same production from one of those players. So yeah, just one guy I'm certainly avoiding this upcoming season.
I think it's a lot of peaks and valleys with T Higgins. You don't know what you're getting from one week to another.
Yeah. So that'll do it for our wide receivers. We will go through some tight ends quickly. Look, I'll just start quickly with my tight end, who I think most likely will be on many people's lists, and I think we've talked about this as well. Lucas, if you're listening, it's Mr. Travis Kelce. Going into now, he's going to be 35 this year, and he had career low stats last year. Still finished as tight end 6, which was kind of surprising to me. But yeah, now there's Noah Gray pushing for more time. There's I think they signed Robert Tonyan too. Not to say that he's going to really take over. Yeah, he still plays. I know
Robert Tonyan.
But it's just like really risky to take a player like that. I find aging veteran. I think they're going to try to run a bit more, but even at that, the offensive line too, they're having a little issues on the offensive line. So right now he's going as ADP 7. So you have players like Njoku, Jonu Smith, Mark Andrews, Tucker Kraft that are going after him. That potentially bump up. Even like a Tyler Warren I'd rather take a flyer on than potentially adding Kelsey to my lineup.
It was a really bad ride last year. It was awful.
It was tough to see.
He did lose. I heard he lost 35 pounds.
Yeah, he did lose a lot of weight.
I thought he gained weight. He lost weight?
No, he lost weight. He
Maybe Taylor Swift helped him with that.
How?
Yeah, care to explain on that now?
I'll let the viewers use their imaginations.
Got a little TMC insider takeover here.
I don't know where to go after that. I agree.
What were they saying about Travis Kelce? He lost his hoodism or whatever. What
his what?
Yeah,
because you know what I'm talking about.
He was a big time cookout candidate. I mean, he was
not anymore.
Like look who he was dating before Taylor Swift. Like that qualifies you very much so.
100%. Yes.
Right.
And he has the Jason Presley 90210 haircut.
He has the same haircut I had in grade 4.
Thank you. It's back.
It's like just part it right down the middle. It's like this is when I had more hair on my head. Part it right down the middle.
Nick Cannon.
The Nick Cannon.
Yeah.
Raj, what do you have as a tight end?
It's Kyle Pitts.
There we go.
I'm not gonna let you. I was just chomping at a bit to say it's Kyle Pitts.
No one's gonna draft a tight end.
ADP 20.
That's 10 and 20.
No one's very low.
That's nuts, man.
Well, not according to you, it isn't.
I'd rather have Juwan Johnson, my boy Juwan Johnson.
Like Colson Loveland, Hunter Henry, Dallas Goedert.
Taysom Hill.
That is Goedert.
Taysom Hill over him.
That is Goedert.
No, I don't think Taysom Hill is playing this year.
Oh, I got a good one for you guys.
Go.
Tell me.
Dalton Kincaid.
Oh yeah, that's a really good one.
That's a good one.
Dalton Kincaid finished
That's a good
tight end
one.
26 last year.
Yeah, super disappointing.
Yeah. Just to
But is
throw
it
some stats at
disappointing,
you
or
guys.
is it that Josh Allen just spreads the ball so much now? Like he doesn't
Yeah.
key into any one wide
Because they
receiver
don't have that
anymore.
bona fide number one,
He,
right?
Yeah.
he,
Like,
he
so
had
it's easy to spread the ball around.
Kincaid had 450 receiving yards, and that was third on the Bills.
Yeah.
It's
That's
not a lot.
crazy.
It's not a lot at all. Guys that I would target instead of Kincaid, they're going much later. And I mentioned this. I remember in the chat when the draft was happening. Elijah Arroyo
Hmm.
in Seattle. His only competition is Noah Fant.
Who?
Like so,
Who are you drafting?
Elijah Arroyo.
Arroyo.
Yeah, he's going very very far. Like right now, his ADP I think is tight end 31. So just as of right now, is a very deep sleeper. Even Mason Taylor, the tight end rookie for the Jets, he's been like showing up at camp right now too. And that's another thing where it's like you don't really have much competition. And Zach Ertz, man, my boy Zach Ertz,
Yeah.
boy Zach
Solid.
Ertz,
Ertz is yeah.
Super solid.
like he's going right before Rodgers' favorite player on this planet, Cal Pitts. You can get
Chig
him at deep discount.
Okonkwo.
They finished tight end 8 last year. Like no one's giving this guy credit. No one's giving him any love, and not much has changed. And especially if Terry McLaurin, if that contract situation gets very murky, all of a sudden, hey,
It's just age, right? Like age at
yeah,
a
for
certain
sure, he's
point catches up
36.
to you, right? So
Yeah,
he's
for sure.
34 years old. Like you get up there, right?
I
We're
agree.
knocking Kelsey because of age, and
No,
This
no,
all
I
depends on
fully
tight
agree.
end strategy, right?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
which
Listen, if I'm not getting one of the top 5 guys or top 6 guys, like I'm just punting the position and just like drafting 2 tight ends and see which ones hit. And I
yeah,
might
you're
even,
streaming.
yeah, I'm just like streaming every single year. Like tight ends are, it's always a wasteland for me.
But again, like it's crazy that Kate Otten would be ranked below like a Cal Pitts. Like the problem with
There's a
Pitts
lot
is
of mouths
that
to feed in Tampa, though.
100%.
yes, good point. My issue with Pitts is that people still think you could take a flyer on him that for some reason he might still get 1,000 yards, where it's been very clear that that ship has completely sailed. And I think to Fab's point, there are rookies who I think would be interesting. Like I've been hearing a lot about Aronde Gadsden with the Chargers. There's Ben
Yes.
Sinnott too. This is more like deep sleeper territory. Ben Sinnott, who was drafted last year, I think he went to Iowa, tight end U. Maybe he starts to supplant Zach Ertz. So I think there's guys who, even Theo Johnson with the Giants.
Yeah.
I like
Theo Johnson's I like too.
Yeah.
I
To be
like
honest with you, the Giants
Brenton.
put together a nice tight end room there, even
Yeah. Yes.
with Findone, who was out of high school, was ranked higher than Brock Bowers. He just had a lot of injury history.
Yeah.
I like
Someone we're not talking about at all, which I believe requires more of a conversation, is Brenton Strange.
Yeah, you took the
Great
air
call.
out of my sails.
Oh,
Great
sorry,
call.
I had it written down on my notes. Sorry, Knack.
It's all good, but yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man,
Very, very, very underrated.
he was good last year. He was very good, and we all know what Liam Cohen can do with tight ends, right? So
Duval.
Kyle Pitts.
Tight
Hold on,
ends.
I just
Gotta
brought
love
up. I
him.
just brought up his fantasy stats here for a second. Let me see. Stats
Oh boy,
for Kyle Pitts.
they're not good.
So his touchdowns in his first year were 1. In his second year were 2. In his third year were 3. In his fourth year was 4. So I don't know about you guys, but I think I see a trend here. I think I see a trend. I think
always
this is the
grasping at
year that Kyle
straws.
Pitts breaks out.
And what does that breakout mean? What does that mean?
Honestly,
What is
5
it?
touchdowns, just because it just makes sense at this point. Like 5 touchdowns and like 600 yards, 700 yards ish.
Wow, talk about a breakout.
No, it's the last 2 years he got 600 yards receiving
If he was
and like 50
taken,
receptions. I think it's that. I think that's what.
if
Kyle
he was
Pitts
taken
is.
in the mid first or further, there would be no issue. No one would have any problem with his numbers.
For sure. But he's 24 years old and he's played 4 seasons in the NFL.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's wild.
It's nuts.
Like some guys are rookies and they're starting at 24. Tyler Shuck is like 30. And he has 7 degrees because he went to
He's
university.
29.
14
Okay,
years.
put some respect. I don't
I'm
know
kidding.
actually. What is
Tyler
he?
Shuck
27.
is a friend of the
I think he's
podcast.
27. I think he's 27.
Did you guys hear how you guys know Amon Ross St. Brown has his podcast, right? We all know that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he had Tyler
Yes.
Shuck on, and he was introducing Tyler Shuck. But the way that his name is spelled is Show. He was telling the audience, he's like, it's the way you say his name is that you take the F word and you put a shut in front of it.
For sure.
Shuck. I was like, that makes sense. It's good. We can't swear
I
on this
like that
podcast.
podcast.
It's family friendly.
Well, that'll do it, ladies and gentlemen. That was our do not draft list for the upcoming season. Join us in a couple of weeks, and we will be going over our make or break players coming into the new season. So that will be players that have basically one last shot to prove it. I think already Kyle Pitts probably makes that list by by default.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
But I don't think we'll talk about him again. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Please, once again, follow us on all the social media platforms and like and subscribe everywhere you get your podcast. It would mean the world to us. We're out. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Peace.
I'm waiting for the cue to music, but
I was about
Cue the music.
There it is.
Cue the music.
There it is.
I got so used to it.
I missed it. I missed
There
it.
it is.
I got so
Bring
used
them
to it.
horns out, Roger. Bring the horns
See, we
out.
get a little rusty after 2 weeks. You see that?
I know, guys. The Raptors are about to draft. I've been watching the draft the entire time.
What
nice.
European player that won't make the starting lineup will they draft this time?
Actually, there's a guy from Duke who is really good. I hope they take him.
Did Cooper Flag go first overall?
He sure did.
That's a shocker.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
See you in 2 weeks.
Peace.